I believe that my moral duty as a father, it's to my family. As your next president, it is to you, the citizens of this country, not any other one. I am an America First conservative. But to put this country first, we now have to rediscover what this country is. What does it mean to be a citizen of this nation? We've lost our answer to that question. To me, it means we believe in those 1776 ideals. Ideals like merit and the pursuit of excellence. That you get ahead in this country not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. That is why I've said that we will end racial quota systems and affirmative action in every area of American life. It has been a cancer on our national soul, and we are done with it. It means we believe in the rule of law. And I say this as the kid of legal immigrants to this country. That means your first act of entering this country cannot break the law. That is why we will use our own military to secure our own southern border and our northern border too. That is what it means to stand for the rule of law in the United States of America. It means that we, the people, create a government that is accountable to us, not the other way around. That the people who we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government. Not the shadow government and the deep state, those three-letter agencies that are running the show today. So you know what? If I can't be your next president for more than 8 years, which I think is a good thing, then neither should those federal bureaucrats who are reporting into me either. 8-year term limits for the bureaucracy instead of civil service protections. That's how you drain the swamp. Get serious about this. 75% reduction in the number of federal bureaucrats by the end of my first term. That's how you drain the swamp. Shut down government agencies that should no longer exist. From the FBI to the ATF to the CDC to the U.S. Department of Education. We're not just going to tinker around the edges anymore. We're done with that. We will get in there and shut them down. This is not ideology. This is deeply practical. The FBI has 35,000 employees. 20,000 of them are working as back office bureaucrats in the J. Edgar Hoover building. Think about it. They still call it that. Honor that legacy of the FBI. They're going to go home and find honest work in the private sector. 15,000 of them are cops, good people on the front lines. We will move them to the U.S. Marshals, much better at fighting child sex trafficking rings than the FBI has been. Move them to the DEA, the front lines of the fentanyl epidemic. Move them to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network at the U.S. Treasury so you can actually go after the future FTXs and the SBFs, the fraudsters who they're missing today. This is at once improving the effectiveness while reducing the corruption and ending the bureaucracy. The Department of Education, and does that mean, some people ask, does that mean you're against education in this country? No. I will shut down the federal Department of Education because it's antithetical to education in this country. $80 billion given back to parents across this country so they can choose where they send their kids to school. And there's a small sliver in there that might be useful, the vocational training that recently began. Move that to the Department of Labor where it belongs. So these aren't just slogans. This is deeply practical. It's time for a CEO in the White House to get this done. I've been a CEO of multi-billion-dollar businesses I built from scratch. I'll tell you, I ran them with zero-based budgeting. Don't start with last year's budget as the baseline, which is based on a broken budget from the year before, which is based on a broken budget from the year before that, and then try to massage it. No. Start with zero as the baseline and ask what's actually necessary. That's how we're going to drive change in this country. That's how you tackle the national debt. Rescind the unconstitutional federal regulations that Congress never passed so we can drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear energy again in this country. That's how you pay down our national debt. This shouldn't be controversial. This is common sense. To do this, we need elections we can trust and that we can believe in. Single day voting on election day as a national holiday with paper ballots, government-issued voter ID to match the voter file, and yes, English as the sole language that appears on a ballot. These are not black ideas or white ideas. These aren't even Democrat ideas or Republican ideas. They shouldn't be. That's right. You know those pamphlets on your desk? It's based on a pamphlet written by a man called Thomas Paine. You know what he called it? Common sense. These are American ideals that we fought a revolution to secure in this country. I believe deep in my heart that those ideals still exist. I'm running for president to revive them. It's on the back of our coins. It says it on every one of them. E pluribus unum. It means from many, one. That's what we've lost in this country. We've been taught, my generation, we've been taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways we are really the same as Americans. Bound by that common set of ideals that set this country into motion. And here's how we're going to get it back. It's going to be by all of us. Not just me. All of us. Starting to speak the truth in the open again. Say in public what you will say in private at the dinner table. Say it with a spine. Say it with conviction. Say it with respect. But part of respect is that you respect your neighbor enough to tell him what you actually think. That's what this campaign is about. Speaking the truth, not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. Speaking the truth, not just to the Democrats on the other side, but to our own side, our Republican Party when necessary. That's what I've been doing on that debate stage and elsewhere. It doesn't make me popular with the establishment of this party. But I don't report to them. I report to you. There's a reason why I'm the only candidate in this race, without exception, who's able to even say certain things that you're not supposed to say as a Republican. That I'm opposed to the carbon dioxide capture pipeline, using eminent domain, working its way across half this state, unconstitutionally violating the property rights of innocent farmers in this state. That's a threat to every American, not just every Iowan. The only candidate in this race who can say that to you. I'm the only candidate who can tell you that's based on a climate change agenda that is actually a hoax because it has nothing to do with the climate and more to do with China catching up to the United States. The only candidate who can tell you that Ronna McDaniel, the failed chairwoman of the RNC, needs to resign after 5 failed years of leadership of our own party, disasters for 5 years. It's time for change. The only candidate who can tell you I will pardon peaceful protesters from January 6th on my first day in office because it's the right thing to do. And we're not going to bend the knee to what the popular narrative is. Why am I the only candidate in this race who's able to even say these things to you? I'll tell you why. Everybody is otherwise bought and paid for. Our politics is broken. It is corrupt. If you want somebody who's going to get in there and shut down the deep state and speak truth to power, then vote for somebody who's going to speak the truth to you. The things I'm saying, they're controversial not because they are false, but because they are true. 10 years ago, if I walked in here and told you the things on that paper, you should have shooed me out of here because it's too obvious to say. Now maybe, you know what, they might shoo me out of certain places. See that CNN town hall they did in Iowa? Any of you watch that? Good for you if you weren't. As in, we're at Grandview College. Actually, I actually thought it was a really good event. There was Iowans and actual caucus goers in the room. We actually had an authentic conversation. That's what they were worried about. They cut it off 5 minutes early. Unbelievable. They purposely cut it off 5 minutes early, actually, than we were supposed to go. They don't want you to hear the things we're saying, not because they're false, but because they're true.